The grand assembly hall stretched so far that Marcus Webb could barely see the walls. Thousands of alien beings filled the seats, all staring down at him. He stood alone on a circular platform in the center of the massive room. Above him sat 7 massive thrones where the most powerful beings in the galaxy decided the fate of entire civilizations. Marcus kept his face calm even though he knew what was coming. The Galactic Council had summoned Earth to answer for crimes against their laws. Around him, holographic screens appeared in the air showing images of human military bases, warships, and weapons. Each image was labeled with red text marking it as illegal. High Arbiter Velthas spoke first. Her body looked like living crystal that bent light in strange ways. Ambassador Marcus Webb of Earth, humanity has broken the Preservation Accords 23 times. You built weapons that are forbidden. You militarized 14 colony worlds. You refused to dismantle your war fleets. These are serious crimes. The alien delegates around the chamber made various sounds of agreement. Some clicked, some hummed, some released puffs of colored gas. They all seemed pleased that humanity was finally being put on trial. The Council has decided your punishment, Velthas continued. Earth must surrender all weapons above Class 3. You must allow Council administrators to govern your colonies. Your military fleet will be reduced to 12 ceremonial vessels with no weapons. You have 24 hours to agree. Marcus stood quietly as the pronouncement echoed through the hall. He had expected this. Earth's diplomats had warned him that the older civilizations feared humanity's rapid growth. In just 50 years, humans had gone from 1 world to 19 colonies. Their ships were faster than most species. Their weapons hit harder. And worst of all, humans didn't seem afraid of anyone around the chamber. The Threnoid delegate clicked its mandibles in satisfaction. The insectoid alien had been pushing for human restrictions for years. The Corsane representative glowed brighter with pleasure, its energy body pulsing with satisfaction. For them, this was a victory. The dangerous newcomers would finally be controlled. Marcus looked up at the 7 thrones. I have a question. Velthas' crystalline form shifted colors. You are here to accept judgment, not ask questions. Just one simple question, Marcus said. His voice carried across the enormous hall without needing any amplification. How many of your worlds were attacked in the past 100 years? The chamber went quiet. Aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Marcus continued before anyone could stop him. I will tell you the number. 72 member worlds suffered attacks. The Dravik swarm hit 6 Threnoid colonies last year. The Corinth Reavers enslaved 12 million Vilcians 2 years ago. Pirate clans raid 17 different sectors. All of this happened under Council protection. These incidents are regrettable, Velthas said. But they do not excuse your violations of law. Let me ask another question then, Marcus said. How many human worlds were attacked in the past 3 years? No one answered. The silence grew heavy and uncomfortable. 0, Marcus said quietly. Not one raid. Not one pirate attack. Not one slave ship entered human space in 36 months. Do you want to know why? Counselor Brem leaned forward from his throne. The Vilcian looked like a large amphibian with wise old eyes. His people had suffered more than most from raiders. Yes, Ambassador. I would like to hear your explanation. Marcus tapped his wrist device. New holographic images appeared in the air, showing footage from space. The timestamp showed it was from 18 months ago. A large fleet of raider ships approached a human mining colony in the Kalos Belt. There were 50 raider vessels, all heavily armed. The miners below continued working. They did not evacuate or even stop their operations. That colony has 4,000 people, Marcus explained. The Corinth Reavers thought they would be easy targets. The footage continued playing. 3 human warships appeared on the screen. They were smaller than the raider capital ships, but moved with incredible precision and speed. What happened next was not really a battle. It was an execution. The human ships opened fire immediately with no warnings and no negotiations. 17 minutes later, every single raider ship was destroyed. The human vessels then returned to their patrol routes as if nothing important had happened. The aliens in the chamber watched in shocked silence. Some had never seen such efficient violence. The few raiders who survived in escape pods talked about what happened, Marcus said. Word spread quickly through the criminal networks. After 6 more encounters exactly like this one, the attacks on human space stopped completely. No negotiations needed. No ransoms paid. No diplomatic protests filed. This proves exactly what we feared. Velfa's voice rang out sharply. You are barbarians who solve everything with violence. This is why you must be controlled. Marcus shook his head slowly. No, you are wrong. You do not want to control us because we are violent. You want to control us because we remind you of something you forgot. He turned to face the thousands of assembled delegates. You have been civilized for so long that you forgot what the universe is really like. You negotiate with pirates because you have hundreds of worlds and can afford to lose a few. You pay ransoms because the cost is less than fighting. You treat predators like diplomatic problems instead of threats that must be eliminated. Your civilizations are so large that you can absorb terrible losses and continue existing. Marcus paused, letting his words sink in. But humanity is new here. We have 19 worlds, not hundreds. We have 30 million colonists who cannot afford your idea of acceptable losses. When someone threatens our people, we do not negotiate. We do not pay ransoms. We do not file complaints and hope for eventual justice. His voice became harder. We eliminate the threat completely. We make the cost of attacking humans so high that no one ever tries it twice. We make predators regret that humans exist. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens stood from their seats shouting in dozens of languages. Some were outraged. Some were shocked. But Marcus noticed that some delegates remained seated and quiet. The Vilcians who lost 12 million people. The border colonies who paid protection money to survive. They were not protesting. Velfas raised one crystalline arm and silence returned. Your speech is dramatic, Ambassador Webb, but this council maintained peace for 10,000 years through law and diplomacy. We will not abandon civilization because one species prefers violence. Then let me make a proposal, Marcus said. A demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Your council has 147 unsolved problems in your protection request archives. Situations where diplomacy failed. Where military action was too expensive or too complicated. Where your peacekeepers recommended patience instead of action. Marcus smiled without warmth. Give us one problem. Just one. Let humanity show you what happens when Deathworlders stop being nice. The chamber fell completely silent. The 7 council members looked at each other. Finally, Velfas spoke. Very well. But understand the consequences, Ambassador. If you fail, or if your methods prove as brutal as we fear, humanity will face immediate sanctions. Your treaty status will be revoked. Earth will stand alone against the galaxy. Agreed, Marcus said immediately. Which problem do you want solved? Velfa's crystalline body shifted through several colors before turning deep red. The Blackspur Station crisis? If your species is truly effective, show us how you handle that situation. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. Around the chamber, delegates who knew about Blackspur began whispering urgently. Even the Threnoid delegate stopped clicking its mandibles. Blackspur Station. 300,000 civilians trapped for 6 months by the Kragath Dominion. The raiders used the station as a fortress to attack surrounding sectors. The council tried negotiation, blockades, and even a small military operation. Everything failed. The Kragath commander. Thulver was a tactical genius who used hostages as shields and controlled a captured defense platform with enough weapons to destroy any attacking fleet. You are sending us to Blackspur? Marcus asked calmly. Unless humanity's confidence was just performance? Velfas replied. Marcus activated his wrist communicator, opening a channel to the human ship orbiting the council world. Wake Admiral Reeves. Tell her we have a mission. Tell her the galaxy is about to learn why you never corner Deathworlders. The chamber stayed silent as Marcus turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, 1,000 alien delegates began talking at once. Wondering what they had just set in motion. In orbit above, Admiral Catherine Reeves received her orders and smiled coldly. She had 38 hours to reach Blackspur Station. She would only need 20. Admiral Catherine Reeves stood on the bridge of the warship, relentless, watching the stars streak past. 20 hours had passed since they left the Council world. Blackspur Station was now just 3 hours away. Around her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence, preparing for what came next. "Status report," Catherine said calmly. Lieutenant James Park looked up from his console. "All weapon systems charged and ready. Stealth fields operating at maximum efficiency. No one knows we are here. The other 2 ships in our group are in position on the far side of the station." Catherine nodded. She had brought only 3 warships for this mission. The Council probably expected a large fleet with dozens of vessels. They did not understand how humans fought. Numbers meant nothing if you knew where to strike. "Show me the station layout again," Catherine ordered. A holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge. Blackspur Station was enormous, shaped like a wheel with 6 massive arms extending from a central hub. Originally, it had been a peaceful trade station where dozens of species met to exchange goods. Now it was a prison. The Kragath Dominion had captured it 6 months ago and turned it into their fortress. 300,000 civilians trapped on the lower levels, James reported. Kragath troops number approximately 8,000, concentrated in the upper sections. Commander Thulver operates from the central command hub. The defense platform is here. He pointed to a weapons satellite orbiting nearby. 42 heavy cannons. Enough firepower to destroy a battle fleet. Catherine studied the image carefully. The Council had failed because they approached this like a traditional military problem. They tried blockades that the Kragath simply ignored. They tried negotiations that went nowhere because Thulver knew the hostages protected him. They tried one assault that ended badly when the defense platform destroyed half the attacking force, but Catherine saw something different. She saw a structure built by peaceful species who never imagined it would become a war zone. She saw defensive systems designed to stop external attacks, not internal threats. And most importantly, she saw a commander who had grown comfortable because no one had truly challenged him in 6 months. "The Council observer ship is requesting communication," James said. "They want to know our plan." Catherine smiled slightly. "Tell them to watch and learn. Radio silence from this point forward. All ships switch to laser communication only." The Council had insisted on sending an observer vessel to monitor humanity's methods. Fine, let them watch. In a few hours, they would understand why human space had no pirate problems. 17 minutes until we enter their sensor range," the navigation officer called out. "Begin approach pattern Delta," Catherine ordered. "I want us looking like a standard cargo convoy. 3 ships traveling together, no military formations, transponders identifying us as civilian freighters." The crew executed her orders perfectly. The Relentless and her 2 sister ships altered their approach vector. Their weapon ports closed and sealed to look like normal hull plating. Their stealth fields adjusted to make them appear on sensors as simple cargo vessels. To any observer, they looked like foolish merchants who did not know Blackspur Station was captured. "Picking up scan from the defense platform," James reported. "They are looking at us but showing no alarm. We register as civilian vessels on their systems." "Excellent," Catherine said. "Maintain course and speed. Let them think we are stupid enough to approach a hostile station." Minutes passed. The 3 human ships drifted closer to Blackspur Station, moving slowly like nervous cargo haulers. Catherine watched the sensor displays showing Kragath patrol craft moving around the station. They were not even scrambling to intercept. Why would they? Just 3 more victims flying into their trap. "Range to station now 5,000 kilometers, the navigation officer said. "Kragath commander is hailing us," James reported. "Audio only. He is demanding we prepare to be boarded and have our cargo seized." Catherine kept her eyes on the tactical display. "Ignore it. Continue approach. Second hail incoming. Thulver himself this time. He sounds annoyed that we are not responding. Range to optimal firing position? Catherine asked. 4 minutes at current speed. The defense platform is powering up weapons, the tactical officer warned. I think they are preparing a warning shot. Let them, Catherine said calmly. James, start the recording. The council will want to see everything. The bridge crew understood immediately. This was not just about rescuing hostages. This was about teaching the galaxy a lesson. The council needed to see exactly how humans solved impossible problems. 3 minutes to optimal position, navigation reported. On the main view screen, Blackspur Station grew larger. Catherine could see the docking arms extending from the central hub, the running lights along the station perimeter, the dark shapes of Kragath patrol ships moving in lazy patterns. They still had no idea what was coming. Defense platform firing warning shot, Tactical announced. A single energy beam lanced past the Relentless, intentionally missing by several kilometers. It was meant to frighten the approaching ships into stopping. Standard pirate tactics. Do not react, Catherine ordered. Maintain course. Second warning shot incoming. This one closer. Another beam flashed past. Near enough that the ship's shields flickered slightly from the energy discharge. Sir, they are definitely trying to scare us into stopping, James said, unnecessarily. Catherine allowed herself a small smile. They have no idea who they are dealing with. 30 seconds to optimal firing range. All ships prepare to execute on my mark. The tension on the bridge increased. Every crew member knew their role. They had trained for operations exactly like this dozens of times. Fast, precise, overwhelming force delivered before the enemy understood what was happening. 10 seconds, navigation counted down. Catherine watched the tactical display. Everything was perfect. The 3 human ships were now positioned in a triangle formation around the station, each one angled to cover a different section. The Kragath patrols were out of position, spread too thin around the massive structure. The defense platform had its weapons pointed at the Relentless, treating the other 2 ships as secondary concerns. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Execute, Catherine said quietly. Everything happened at once. The 3 human warships dropped their disguises. Weapon ports opened across their hulls. Stealth fields switched from passive camouflage to active jamming. And most importantly, each ship fired exactly 3 shots. The first shot from the Relentless hit the defense platform's main reactor. The massive weapon satellite exploded in a bloom of white fire. It's 42. Heavy cannons becoming useless scrap in an instant. The second shot destroyed the central communications array on Blackspur Station itself. Suddenly, Thulver could not coordinate his forces or call for reinforcements. The third shot was different. It was not a weapon. It was a message. A powerful transmission broadcast on every frequency, in every major galactic language, saying the same thing. This is Admiral Catherine Reeves of the Human Defense Fleet. All civilians shelter in place. All Kragath personnel have 30 seconds to begin evacuating the station, or you will be classified as hostile combatants. This is your only warning. The Kragath patrols finally reacted, but they were too slow. The other 2 human ships had already targeted and destroyed 4 of the 6 patrol craft with precise fire. The remaining 2 tried to run but were disabled before they made it 1,000 kilometers. Scan shows Kragath troops mobilizing inside the station, James reported. They are forming defensive positions in the upper sections. Thulver is still in the command hub. Time for Phase 2, Catherine said. Launch the boarding teams. From the underside of each human warship, small assault shuttles dropped free. 18 shuttles total, each carrying 30 fully armed human marines. They streaked toward Blackspur Station using micro-jump drives to cross the distance in seconds. Too fast for the Kragath to track or target, the shuttles did not head for the docking ports. That would be expected. Instead, they attached to the station hull at carefully calculated points and began cutting through. Boarding teams report hull breaches successful, James said. They are inside. Catherine switched the main view screen to show feeds from the Marine helmet cameras. What the Council observer ship was about to witness would change everything. The human Marines moved through Blackspur Station like a force of nature. They did not advance slowly or carefully. They sprinted through corridors with absolute confidence, their weapons ready, but their movements almost casual. When they encountered Kragath troops, the fights were over in seconds. The aliens were tough and well-armed, but they had never faced opponents like this. Humans from Earth, Catherine thought. Deathworlders who evolved in a gravity twice what most species considered normal. Who hunted predators for sport on their homeworld. Who saw violence not as a last resort but as just another tool to accomplish objectives. Marines have secured the lower civilian sections, James reported. No civilian casualties. They are moving up toward Kragoth positions now. On the view screen, Catherine watched her Marines encounter a fortified position. 20 Kragoth behind barriers with heavy weapons. In a normal military operation, this would require careful planning, suppression fire, maybe even calling for artillery support. The human Marines simply threw stun grenades and charged. The fight lasted 8 seconds. They are terrified, James said quietly, watching the Kragoth true. P.S. Break and run from other positions. The raiders are actually retreating from battle. They never fought anyone who did not fear them, Catherine said. Bullies always break when someone hits back harder. Marines are approaching the command hub, Tactical reported. Thulver has 40 of his best troops with him. He is broadcasting threats about killing hostages. Catherine leaned forward. Patch me through to Marine Team Leader. A voice came over the speaker. Team Leader Rodriguez here, Admiral. Status on hostages in the command hub? Scans show 17 civilians held in the hub's detention cells. Thulver is trying to use them as shields. He is demanding a ship and safe passage. Catherine's voice became cold as ice. Are the hostages in a separate section from Thulver's position? Yes, sir. There is a sealed bulkhead between the detention area and the main command center. Then you have permission to resolve this. No negotiations? Understood, Admiral. Rodriguez out. Catherine switched the view screen to show Rodriguez's helmet camera. The Marine team had reached the entrance to the command hub. Thulver's voice was broadcasting threats and demands, his tone growing more desperate. The human Marines did not respond to his words. They simply placed breaching charges on the detention cell walls from the outside corridor, used shaped explosives to blow the bulkhead open away from the hostages, extracted all 17 civilians in 40 seconds, and then sealed that section again. Now Thulver had no shields. Final warning to Kragoth Commander, Rodriguez's voice announced calmly. Surrender immediately or be eliminated. Thulver responded with weapons fire. The Marines went in fast and hard. No mercy, no hesitation. 20 seconds later, silence fell in the command hub. Command center secured, Rodriguez reported. Thulver is dead. All hostile forces neutralized. Catherine nodded slowly. Casualty report. 0 civilian casualties. 0 Marine casualties. Kragoth dead or captured number 8043. The bridge of the Relentless stayed quiet for a moment. Then Catherine opened a channel to the Council observer ship. Observer vessel, this is Admiral Reeves. Blackspur Station is secure. All hostages are safe. Total operation time was 42 minutes. You may inform the Council that humanity has solved their impossible problem. And you may also inform them that this is what happens when Deathworlders stop being nice. The Grand Assembly Hall was completely silent as the recording ended. 5,000 alien delegates had just watched 42 minutes of footage, showing human Marines tear through Blackspur Station like it was made of paper. The holographic display faded, leaving only shocked silence. Marcus Webb stood in the same circular platform as before, his expression neutral. 3 days had passed since Admiral Reeves completed her mission. 3 days for the Council to review every second of footage, analyze every tactical decision, and consult with their military advisors. Now they had to respond. High Arbiter Velphas spoke first, her crystalline form flickering between colors rapidly. The hostages are safe. This is acknowledged. The Kraga threat has been eliminated. This is also acknowledged. Marcus waited. There was more coming. However, Velthus continued, your methods were excessively violent. You destroyed the defense platform without attempting communication. You boarded the station with overwhelming force. You executed Thulver when he might have been captured and tried for his crimes. This is not how the Council operates. Marcus looked up at the 7 thrones. The Council tried operating your way for 6 months. 300,000 civilians remained hostages while you negotiated, discussed, and debated. How many more months should they have waited while you explored diplomatic options? Councillor Brem, the Vilcian who had spoken favorably before, leaned forward. Ambassador Webb makes a valid point. We attempted every peaceful solution. All failed. Perhaps we should acknowledge that this situation required a different approach. The Threnoid delegate rose from its seat, mandibles clicking in agitation. This sets a dangerous precedent. If we allow humans to solve problems with pure military force, what stops every species from abandoning diplomacy? We will return to the wars of the ancient times. You never left the ancient times, Marcus said quietly. You just convinced yourselves that you did. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded humanity be punished despite their success. Others argued the mission proved humans were necessary. The chaos grew louder. Velthus raised her crystalline arms and silence gradually returned. Ambassador Webb, you claim we live in denial about the nature of the universe. Explain this accusation. Marcus took a breath. This was the moment that mattered. The Council believes it maintains peace through laws and treaties. But laws only work when everyone agrees to follow them. Criminals do not care about your laws. Raiders laugh at your treaties. You have created a civilization that works perfectly as long as everyone is already civilized. He gestured to the assembled delegates. When someone breaks the rules, you have no answer. You negotiate with pirates because you forgot how to fight them. You pay ransoms because you forgot that predators only understand strength. You have peace not because your system works, but because your civilizations are large enough to absorb constant small losses. Marcus paused, letting his words settle. Humanity does not have that luxury. We are small. We are new. We cannot afford to lose even one colony to raiders. So we remembered something you forgot. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. Peace is what you have when everyone is too afraid to attack you. So you rule through fear? Velthus asked. This is your solution? No, Marcus replied. We rule through certainty. When raiders look at human space, they do not see potential targets. They see guaranteed death. There is no negotiation. No ransom, no escape. Just elimination. After a few demonstrations, the attacks stopped. Not because we patrol every system, but because the cost of attacking humans is always higher than any possible gain. Councillor Brem spoke again. I find myself considering the ambassador's words carefully. The Vilcian Concordat lost 12 million people to slavers over the past decade. We filed protests. We negotiated. We requested council intervention. Nothing worked. The slavers simply moved to new targets each time. He paused. How many humans have been taken as slaves in the past 3 years? None, Marcus said simply. And you achieved this with only 19 worlds and a small fleet? Yes, the Vilcian counselor sat back in his throne, clearly thinking. Around the chamber, other delegates began whispering among themselves. The mathematics were simple. Humanity protected 30 million people with minimal resources. The Council protected trillions with vast fleets and still suffered constant losses. The Threnoid delegate was not convinced. Your argument ignores the cost. Yes, you stopped attacks on your space, but you did so by becoming the very thing we built this council to prevent. You are warmongers, killers, you solve everything with violence. We solve threats with violence, Marcus corrected. There is a difference. We do not attack peaceful neighbors. We do not invade for resources. We do not enslave other species. We simply refuse to be victims. Another voice spoke up from the assembly. It came from a small delegate representing a border colony that had suffered frequent raids. The human approach saved lives at Blackspur Station. My world has been asking for similar help for 2 years. The Council keeps saying a diplomatic solution is being explored. Meanwhile, my people die. More voices joined in. Delegates from smaller worlds, border colonies, species that lacked the military strength to defend themselves. They had been silent before, unwilling to challenge the Council's authority. Now they were speaking up. Velthas tried to restore order, but the chamber was dividing. Roughly half the delegates supported the traditional Council approach. The other half had begun questioning whether that approach actually protected them. Enough! Velthas' voice cut through the noise. This debate can continue for cycles and resolve nothing. We must make a decision about humanity's status. The 7 council members conferred privately for several minutes. Finally, Velthas turned back to face Marcus. The council is divided on this matter. Therefore, we propose a compromise. Humanity will not face sanctions for the Blackspur operation. Your treaty status is maintained. However, you will accept certain restrictions on your military expansion to assure the Council of your peaceful intentions. Marcus shook his head slowly. No, the chamber went silent again. Delegates stared at him in disbelief. No one simply rejected a council compromise. No? Velthas repeated. You refuse our offer? I do, Marcus said calmly. Because it is based on a false premise. You want us to accept restrictions so that you feel safer. But your feelings are not our responsibility. We have done nothing wrong. We defended our people. We rescued your hostages. We eliminated a threat you could not handle. And now you want to punish us for being effective. This is not punishment, Velthas protested. This is compromise. This is you trying to control something you fear but do not understand, Marcus replied. You are not afraid that humans will attack you. You are afraid that we represent a truth you do not want to acknowledge. You are afraid that your entire system only works because no one challenged it seriously until now. Marcus turned to address the full assembly. Here is what human HFY offers instead. We will continue to respect Council laws regarding peaceful member worlds. We will not attack, invade, or threaten any civilization that leaves us alone. We will engage in fair trade and diplomatic relations with all species. He paused. But we will not disarm. We will not reduce our defenses. We will not apologize for protecting our people effectively. And if any force threatens human lives, we will eliminate that threat completely with no negotiations and no mercy. Furthermore, Marcus continued, we offer our services to any council member world that faces threats the council cannot handle. You have 146 remaining unsolved problems in your protection request archives. We will solve them. All of them. Not for money, not for territory. We will do it to prove a point. What point? Councillor Brem asked quietly. That the galaxy does not need to live in fear of criminals and raiders. That peace can be more than just acceptable losses and managed violence. That, when you stop negotiating with predators and start eliminating them, they disappear. Marcus met the eyes of delegates around the chamber. We will show you what real peace looks like. The Threnoid delegate clicked its mandibles angrily. And if the council refuses this offer? If we decide humanity is too dangerous and revoke your treaty status entirely? Marcus smiled, and there was steel in his expression. Then you will have made an enemy that you cannot defeat and cannot escape from. We do not want that. You do not want that. No one benefits from that scenario. So I suggest you choose wisely. You threaten the council? Velthas' form flared bright red. No, Marcus said. I am stating facts. You can work with us or against us. Working with us means the galaxy becomes safer for everyone. Working against us means you discover why evolution on a death world produces survivors, not victims. The chamber erupted again. This time the shouting was louder, angrier, more chaotic. The council had never been challenged like this. For 10,000 years, they had been the ultimate authority. Now, a species barely 50 years off their homeworld was telling them their entire system was flawed. Counselor Brem rose from his throne, silencing the others with a gesture. I call for a vote. Humanity's offer is clear. We can accept them as partners in maintaining galactic security, allowing them to operate with independence as long as they respect peaceful worlds. Or we can attempt to force their compliance through sanctions and possible military action. All council members will vote now. One by one, the 7 counselors announced their votes. 3 voted to accept humanity's terms. 3 voted to reject and impose sanctions. The decision came down to Velthes as the high arbiter. The crystalline being sat silent for a long moment. Her form cycled through colors as she thought. Finally she spoke. I vote to accept humanity's offer. But understand this, Ambassador Webb. The galaxy will be watching every action your species takes. If you abuse this trust, if you become the threat we fear, the full might of the Council will come against you. Marcus nodded. We understand. And we accept those terms. The galaxy will be watching. Good, let them watch closely. Let them see what happens when someone finally takes security seriously. Let them see what a galaxy without pirates and slavers looks like. He turned to leave the platform, then paused and looked back. And maybe, just maybe, you will all learn something important. Peace is not achieved by being nice to everyone. Peace is achieved by being so dangerous that no one dares disturb it. That is the lesson Deathworlders learned millions of years ago. It is time the rest of the galaxy remembered it too. Marcus walked out of the Grand Assembly Hall, leaving thousands of alien delegates to contemplate a fundamental shift in how the galaxy would work from this day forward. 6 months passed since the Council accepted humanity's terms. In that time, the galaxy watched with a mixture of fear and hope as humans began solving the problems that had plagued civilized space for decades. Captain Elena Torres stood on the bridge of the destroyer Vanguard, reviewing the latest mission briefing. This would be their 9th operation in 6 months. Each one had been successful. Each one had sent shockwaves through galactic politics. We are approaching the Helion sector, her second officer reported. The young man looked nervous. Scans confirm the Vexel cartel is operating in this system exactly as intelligence predicted. Elena studied the tactical display. The Vexel cartel had been a problem for the Council for 15 years. They specialized in kidnapping wealthy individuals from civilized worlds, holding them for massive ransoms, and killing anyone who did not pay quickly enough. Over 500 people had died at their hands. The Council had declared them criminals, but every military operation sent against them failed. The Vexel were too mobile, too clever, and too willing to kill hostages. How many hostages do they currently hold? Elena asked. 37 confirmed, spread across 4 different hidden facilities in this sector. Intel believes the main Vexel leadership is on their command ship, currently in orbit around the 3rd moon. Elena nodded slowly. Traditional tactics would not work here. If they attacked the command ship, the Vexel would order the hostages killed immediately. If they hit the facilities first, the leadership would escape. The Council had been stuck in this impossible situation for over a year, but humans did not think like the Council. Execute Plan Nightfall, Elena ordered. All teams go simultaneously in 15 minutes. No warnings. No transmissions. Total surprise. Across human space, 4 separate strike teams received their orders at the exact same moment. Each team had spent weeks infiltrating Vexel territory, gathering intelligence and positioning themselves near the hostage facilities. Now they would all strike at once, giving the cartel no time to react or coordinate. Elena watched the countdown timer. 14 minutes. 13. 12. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Council observer ship, her communications officer said. They are requesting we delay the operation until diplomatic channels can be explored one more time. Elena did not even look up. Ignore it. Continue countdown. But Captain, they are insisting that... I said ignore it, Elena repeated firmly. The Council has been exploring diplomatic channels for 15 years. 37 people are being held in cages while we debate. Not anymore. The officer nodded and cut the transmission. Around the bridge, the crew continued their preparations. They had learned something important over the past 6 months. The council talked. Humans acted, 5 minutes remaining. Elena switched her display to show feeds from all 4 strike teams. Each team was in position, waiting for her signal. The teams were small, just 8 Marines each. But they were enough. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 30 seconds. Execute, Elena said quietly. 4 things happened at once in different parts of the Helion sector. The strike teams hit all 4 hostage facilities within a 10-second window. The teams used the same tactics that worked at Blackspur Station: fast entry, overwhelming force, and complete surprise. The Vexel guards at each facility died before they could send warnings or hurt the hostages. At the same moment, the Vanguard and 2 other human warships dropped out of stealth directly next to the Vexel command ship. Target their engines and communication arrays, Elena ordered. Disable, do not destroy. The human ships fired precisely. The Vexel command vessel went dark, its engines destroyed, its ability to communicate with anyone severed in seconds. Scan for escape pods, Elena said. If anyone tries to run, disable their pods too? Sure enough, several Vexel leadership members tried to abandon ship. Human weapons destroyed the drives on each escape pod, leaving them floating helplessly in space. Teams report all hostages secured, the tactical officer announced. 0 hostage casualties. Vexel guards eliminated or captured at all 4 facilities. Excellent, Elena said. Now hail the command ship. A face appeared on the view screen. The Vexel commander looked like a reptilian creature with cold eyes and sharp teeth. His name was Drask, and he had personally ordered the deaths of hundreds of innocents over the years. You have made a terrible mistake, human, Drask hissed. We have allies, resources. You cannot simply attack us without consequences. Elena stared at him with no emotion. Your hostages are free. Your facilities are destroyed. Your ship is disabled. Your organization is finished. Those are the consequences. The council will hear about this. They will... The council has heard about you for 15 years, Elena interrupted. They talked and did nothing while you killed people. We are done talking. Drask's expression changed to fear. Wait, we can negotiate. We have information you want. We can make a deal. No, Elena said simply. You had 15 years to negotiate with the council. You chose violence and murder instead. Now you face justice. Human justice. She made a signal to her tactical officer. The Vanguard's tractor beam locked onto the Vexel command ship. What are you doing? Drask demanded. Taking you to stand trial on Vilsur Prime, Elena replied. The families of your victims deserve to see you answer for your crimes. You wanted the council's justice system? You will get it. But first you go through us. The transmission ended. Elena ordered the crew to begin towing the captured ship back to civilized space. Behind them, the 4 strike teams were already extracting the rescued hostages and beginning the journey home, another problem solved. Another threat eliminated. And the galaxy took notice. News of the Vexel cartel's destruction spread quickly through council space. Some celebrated, some worried. But everyone paid attention because this was the 9th time in 6 months that humans had solved a problem the council considered impossible. The pattern was always the same. Humans would review a protection request from the archives. They would analyze the situation. Then they would act with speed and overwhelming force. No negotiations. No warnings. No chances for the criminals to escape or retaliate. Pirates who had raided trade routes for decades vanished overnight. Slavers who had operated with impunity for years found their entire networks destroyed in single coordinated strikes. Criminal organizations that considered themselves untouchable watched their leadership get captured or killed in operations that lasted mere hours. The criminal underworld began to learn a simple lesson. Avoid anything connected to humans, but the council itself was deeply divided about these developments. 5 months after Elena's mission, Another emergency session was called in the Grand Assembly Hall. Marcus Webb returned to the same platform, where this had all begun. This time, the mood was different. The delegates were not just considering humanity's fate. They were questioning their own system. High Arbiter Velthas spoke, her crystalline form showing colors that Marcus's briefing identified as confusion and uncertainty. In 6 months, humanity has resolved 43 situations from our protection request archives. 43 problems that we considered ongoing issues or diplomatic challenges. You simply eliminated them. Yes, Marcus agreed. This has created unexpected consequences, Velthas continued. Criminal activity in council space has decreased by 37%. Applications for council protection from border colonies have decreased, because many are now requesting human assistance instead. Trade routes that were considered dangerous are now reporting 0 attacks. The entire security situation in the galaxy has shifted. Marcus remained silent, waiting for the actual problem. Several council member species are now asking why they maintain expensive security forces when humans provide better protection with fewer resources. Velthas said, "Our peacekeeping fleet commanders report morale problems because their ships rarely see action anymore. Criminal organizations are fleeing to the frontier sectors beyond council space because they fear human retaliation if they operate anywhere near civilized worlds. And this is a problem?" Marcus asked. The Threnoid delegate clicked its mandibles. "It undermines the entire council structure. For 10,000 years we maintained order through laws and diplomacy. Now everyone looks to humans when there is trouble. You are replacing us?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "We are filling a gap you refuse to acknowledge existed. The Council is excellent at maintaining peace between civilized species. You facilitate trade, resolve disputes, and promote cooperation. Those are valuable functions. But you were never good at dealing with predators and criminals." He gestured to the assembled delegates. "You kept pretending that enough laws and enough talking would eventually solve every problem. But some problems do not have diplomatic solutions. Some threats must be destroyed, not negotiated with. You were never willing to do that part." "So we did," Councillor Brem spoke up. "The ambassador is correct. The Vilcian Concordat has experienced 0 slaver attacks in 6 months. 0. After losing millions of our people over the past decade, we have had perfect security since humans began their operations. How can we argue this is wrong? Because it is not sustainable." Another delegate shouted, "What happens when humans decide they deserve payment for this protection? What happens when they demand political concessions? We are becoming dependent on them." Marcus smiled slightly. "We do not want payment. We do not want political power. We want exactly what we said from the beginning, to live in peace without threats to our people. Helping you helps us? A safer galaxy means safer trade routes for human merchants. Fewer pirates means fewer potential threats to human colonies. We are not building an empire. We are building security, but for how long?" Velthas asked. "How long before humanity decides that military power should translate to political authority? How long before you demand seats on the council? Or demand that we follow your laws instead of our own?" "We do not want seats on your council," Marcus replied. "We do not want to govern other species. We have no interest in telling the Threnoids how to run their civilization or the Vilcians how to manage their society. Every species should be free to govern themselves." He paused, making sure every delegate was listening. "But freedom requires security. You cannot have peaceful self-governance when pirates raid your worlds. You cannot develop your culture when slavers steal your people. You cannot build a civilization when criminals operate without consequences. For 10,000 years, you accepted a certain level of chaos as normal. We are showing you it does not have to be that way." A small delegate from a border colony stood up. "I have a question for the council. If humans stopped their operations tomorrow, what would happen to my world?" Silence greeted the question. "I will tell you," the delegate continued. "The pirates would return. The slavers would return. Everything would go back to how it was before. We would file protection requests that would sit in archives for years. We would lose people and wait for the Council to explore diplomatic solutions that never work. Is that what you want? Because I do not. More delegates stood up, echoing similar sentiments. The chamber began to divide again, but this time the division was clearer. Smaller worlds, border colonies, and species that had suffered most from crime-supported humanity. Larger, established powers worried about their influence declining. Veltha's raised her arms, calling for silence. It is clear that the Council must make a fundamental decision. Do we continue as we have, or do we acknowledge that the galaxy has changed? Marcus decided it was time to offer a solution. I have a proposal. The Council continues to function exactly as it has for 10,000 years. You maintain laws, facilitate diplomacy, and govern the relationship between civilized species. But you create a new category, security partners. Species that specialize in eliminating threats the Council cannot or will not handle through traditional means. You mean giving humans official authority to conduct military operations? The Threnoid delegate asked suspiciously. Not just humans, Marcus replied. Any species that proves capable and trustworthy. If others want to join this effort, we welcome them. But yes, it would formalize what is already happening. Instead of pretending that diplomatic solutions work for every problem, you would acknowledge that some situations require force. You would direct those situations to security partners who handle them according to agreed principles. Councillor Brem nodded slowly. A division of responsibilities? The Council handles civilization. Security partners handle chaos. Exactly, Marcus said. 2 years had passed since the Council created the Security Partners program. The galaxy had transformed in ways that no one fully anticipated. Marcus Webb sat in a quiet observation lounge aboard the human diplomatic station orbiting the Council homeworld. Looking out at the stars and thinking about how much had changed, the door opened behind him. Admiral Catherine Reeves entered and sat down in the chair next to his. You wanted to see me? I wanted to talk before the ceremony, Marcus said. Just the two of us. No politics. No speeches. Just an honest conversation about what we built. Catherine looked out at the stars, too. We solved 98 problems from the Protection Request archives in 2 years. Criminal activity in Council space is down 74%. 14 other species applied to become security partners after watching our methods. 6 were accepted. The galaxy is safer than it has been in centuries. And the Council hates us for it, Marcus added quietly. Catherine did not deny it. About half of them do. The established powers who built their influence on being the only ones who could provide security. They watch their importance decline every time we eliminate a threat they could not handle. Do you think we made a mistake? Marcus asked. Catherine considered the question seriously. No, we did what needed to be done. The Council was letting millions suffer because they were too afraid to use force effectively. Someone had to show them another way. But I understand why it makes them uncomfortable. Marcus nodded. We changed the rules of their civilization. For 10,000 years, success meant being the best at diplomacy, at negotiation, at building consensus. Suddenly we showed that effectiveness matters more than process. That protection is more important than procedure. It threatens everything they built their society around. But the people are safer, Catherine said firmly. The colonists who do not wake up wondering if today is the day pirates raid their homes. The merchants who travel trade routes without fear. The families who do not have to worry about their children being kidnapped. That matters more than the Council's wounded pride. Does it? Marcus asked. I have been asking myself that question for months. We saved lives. We eliminated threats. But we also destabilized a 10,000-year-old political structure. We made species dependent on human protection. We changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Were we right to do that? Catherine turned to face him directly. Marcus, I have led 17 operations in the past 2 years. I have rescued over 4,000 hostages. I have destroyed organizations that killed and enslaved millions. Every single one of those operations followed clear rules of engagement. We only targeted criminals and verified threats. We minimized collateral damage. We tried to capture leadership alive for trial. We did everything by our own moral code. She paused. And you know what? I sleep fine at night. Because when I close my eyes, I do not see the criminals we killed. I see the people we saved. The children who got to go home to their parents. The colonists who can build their lives without fear. That is what we did. That is what we continue to do. Marcus smiled slightly. You always were better at the simple truths than me. I think too much. You are a diplomat. Overthinking is your job, Catherine replied with a small grin. But sometimes the complicated answer is the same as the simple one. We were given a choice between accepting injustice or fighting it. We chose to fight. History will judge whether we were right, but I think we made the only choice we could live with. A soft chime indicated it was time for them to go to the ceremony. Marcus and Catherine stood and walked through the corridors of the station toward the main assembly hall. Today was important. Today, the Council would formalize the security partners, treaty, and officially recognize humanity's role in galactic security. They entered the hall to find thousands of delegates already assembled. But the mood was different from those early confrontational sessions. There was no anger now. Just acceptance and, in many cases, genuine gratitude. High Arbiter Velthus stood at the center platform. Her crystalline form showed colors that Marcus had learned to read as calm resolution. We gathered today to acknowledge a fundamental truth that this council resisted for too long. Security and civilization are not the same thing. Maintaining peace between those who wish to be peaceful is different from protecting the innocent from those who choose predation. She turned to face Marcus and Catherine. 2 years ago, humanity challenged this council's approach to galactic security. We reacted with fear and resistance because change is difficult, especially for civilizations as old as ours. But the results cannot be denied. Crime has decreased dramatically. Suffering has been reduced. Lives have been saved. Velthus gestured to the assembled delegates. Today we formalize what has already become reality. The Security Partners Treaty establishes clear guidelines for species who specialize in threat elimination. These partners operate under Council oversight but with independence to act quickly when diplomatic solutions are not viable. Humanity will be the first official security partner, Velthus continued. But 6 other species have qualified and more are training to meet the standards. This is not about one species dominating galactic security. This is about the galaxy finally acknowledging that different problems require different solutions. She looked directly at Marcus. Ambassador Webb, you told this council 2 years ago that peace is not achieved by being nice to everyone. You said peace requires being dangerous enough that no one dares disturb it. I argued against that philosophy. I believed it was too brutal, too simple, too violent for civilized beings. Velthus paused. I was wrong. Or rather, I was incomplete in my thinking. Civilization is built on laws and cooperation between those who choose to be civilized. But civilization must also be protected from those who reject civilization entirely. We forgot that second part. You reminded us. For that, the Council owes humanity acknowledgement. The chamber remained quiet. This was as close to an apology as the Council would give, and everyone knew it. Marcus stepped forward. High Arbiter, the Council does not owe humanity anything. We did what we believed was right. But I appreciate the acknowledgement because it represents something important. It represents the ability to adapt and change even for a civilization 10,000 years old. He turned to address the full assembly. I've thought a lot over the past 2 years about what we did and whether it was right. I have questioned our methods, our philosophy, our impact on galactic politics, but I keep coming back to one simple measurement. How many people are safer today than they were 2 years ago? Marcus let the question hang in the air. The answer is millions. Millions of beings who can live their lives without fear of pirates, slavers, or kidnappers. Millions who can raise families, build homes, and pursue their dreams because someone finally stopped negotiating with predators and started eliminating them. We are not perfect, Marcus continued. We made mistakes. We probably used more force than necessary in some situations. We moved too fast sometimes and did not consider all the political implications. But we never lost sight of our goal, protecting innocent lives. He looked around the chamber at the thousands of delegates. The Security Partners Treaty is not about humanity having power. It is about the galaxy having options. When a situation has a diplomatic solution, the Council handles it with skill and wisdom. When a situation requires force, security partners respond with speed and effectiveness. Different tools for different problems? The question I ask all of you is this: are you willing to accept that the universe is complicated? That some situations require talking and some require fighting? That being civilized does not mean being weak? A delegate from a small border colony stood up. I would like to speak. It was the same delegate who had questioned the Council 2 years ago. My world suffered pirate raids for 12 years before humans arrived. 12 years of losing people, losing resources, losing hope. The Council tried to help. They really did. But diplomatic solutions do not work on people who reject all diplomacy. The delegate's voice grew stronger. Then humans came. One operation. 4 hours. Every pirate base in our sector destroyed. We have not had a single raid in 2 years. My people can sleep at night now. My children do not have nightmares about alarms warning of attacks. That is what the Security Partners Program means to us. That is why I support it completely. More delegates stood, sharing similar stories. The Vilcian representative talked about the end of slaver raids. A trade consortium representative discussed how safe shipping lanes had increased commerce by 40%. A frontier colony representative thanked humanity for stopping a resource war before it escalated. Not everyone was happy. The Threnoid delegate remained seated, mandibles clicking in disapproval. Some of the larger established powers clearly resented the shift in galactic dynamics. But even they could not deny the results. The vote was called. The Security Partners Treaty passed with 72% approval. It was official. Humanity and 6 other species were now formally responsible for handling threats that required military solutions. After the ceremony ended, Marcus and Catherine found themselves approached by dozens of delegates. Some wanted to thank them. Some wanted to request human assistance with new problems. Some just wanted to understand how humans thought about violence and security so differently from everyone else. Late that night, after all the meetings and handshakes and diplomatic conversations, Marcus returned to his quarters on the human station. He poured himself a drink and sat down at his desk, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. He opened a secure communication channel to Earth. The image of Director Nicole Foster appeared. She was the head of humanity's diplomatic corps and had been guiding their strategy since the beginning. The treaty passed, Marcus reported. I saw, Nicole replied. Congratulations. You changed the galaxy? Did we change it for the better? Marcus asked. I am still not completely sure. Nicole smiled. Marcus, do you remember why we took this approach? Why we decided to be aggressive instead of cautious when we joined the galactic community? Because we studied their history and saw that peaceful species got exploited, Marcus said. Exactly. We looked at the Council and saw a beautiful, civilized society built on noble principles. And we saw that same society lose millions of citizens to crime and violence every year because they were too civilized to fight back effectively. Nicole leaned forward. We decided that humanity would not be victims. We would rather be feared than pitied. We would rather be seen as dangerous than seen as weak. She paused. But we also decided something else. We decided that if we were going to be the galaxy's warriors, we would be honorable ones. We would protect the innocent. We would follow rules of engagement. We would never become the predators we hunted. And have we succeeded in that? Marcus asked. Ask yourself this, Nicole said. In 2 years of operations, how many innocent civilians did we kill? Marcus thought about every mission, every operation, every strike. 17. Accidental deaths from collateral damage that we could not prevent. Each one investigated. Each one mourned. 17 deaths in 2 years while saving thousands, Nicole said quietly. Compare that to the Council's peacekeeping forces, who accepted average civilian losses of hundreds per operation because they moved slowly and let criminals prepare. Compare it to the criminals themselves, who killed thousands intentionally. We are not perfect, Marcus, but we are better. And we are making the galaxy better. Marcus nodded slowly. You are right. I know you are right. But I still wonder about the long-term consequences. What happens in 50 years? In 100? What kind of galaxy are we creating? A safer one, Nicole replied simply. A galaxy where criminals fear consequences, where predators think twice before attacking, where peaceful beings can build their civilizations without constant threat. That is what we are creating. Everything else will work itself out. The communication ended. Marcus sat in silence for a while, looking out at the stars. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems to solve, new threats to eliminate. The galaxy was large, and there would always be those who chose predation over peace, but now there would also always be someone to stop them. The Deathworlders had stopped being nice. They had shown the galaxy what effective security looked like. And in doing so, they had created something unexpected. Hope that suffering could be reduced. Hope that criminals would face justice. Hope that being small or weak did not mean being a victim. Hope that the universe could be made better through decisive action. Marcus finished his drink and stood up. He looked at his reflection in the window and barely recognized himself. 2 years ago, he had been a simple diplomat hoping to navigate humanity's entry into galactic politics without making waves. Now he was the architect of a fundamental change in how the galaxy handled security. The day Deathworlders stopped being nice, that was what the news networks were calling it. The day humanity showed up at the Council and refused to accept the status quo. The day they demonstrated that violence used precisely and morally could solve problems that diplomacy could not, and the galaxy would never forget it. For 10,000 years, the Council had maintained a certain kind of peace. Now humanity had shown them a different kind. A harder peace. A more dangerous peace. But also a more complete peace. Criminals and pirates who once operated freely now lived in fear. Slavers who once raided at will now stayed in the darkest corners of unexplored space. Raiders who once saw civilians as easy targets now thought twice before attacking anyone, because somewhere in the galaxy, a Deathworlder species was watching. And if you harmed innocents, they would find you. They would judge you. And they would end you, not out of cruelty, not out of hate, but out of a simple principle that humanity had learned on their dangerous homeworld millions of years ago. The best way to protect your people is to make threatening them so costly that no one ever tries. Marcus returned to his desk and opened his mission files. Already there were new requests coming in. A mining colony reporting unusual activity in their sector. A trade route experiencing mysterious disappearances. A border world requesting assistance training their own security forces. The work never ended. But that was fine. Marcus understood now that this was humanity's role in the galaxy. Not to rule. Not to conquer. But to protect. To be the shield that others could shelter behind. To be the sword that cut down those who preyed on the weak. And if that meant being feared by the bad and respected by the good, then so be it. The galaxy had spent 10,000 years being nice to everyone, even predators. It was time someone remembered that being nice to evil is being cruel to its victims. Humanity would carry that burden. And the galaxy would be better for it.